Kia ora everyone, nau mai haere mai ki te huarahi hikoi, walking the way, a gay man's journey of faith. My name's Craig, as you all know. I have a wonderful visitor with us today, and his name's David Hati, and he's a member of the church that I attend, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He's also a fellow queer member of our church. So I'm really, really excited. Bear with me. This is the first time that I've ever done an interview with anyone in any kind of setting, really. So we are kind of playing it by ear a little bit. But hopefully you'll enjoy this interview. A part of the purpose of this podcast that I've started is that I really want to help people understand what it's like to be LGBT and living a Christian life, and also within the context of church, whether it be the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or any other Christian denominations as well. But today we're talking about it within the context of our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So with all that aside, welcome, Dave. It's so lovely to have you as my first guest star on my podcast, Walking the Way, a gay man's faith journey. So welcome. I think you're muted, my friend.
Oh no, I'm definitely not muted.
That's a great start from the. Sorry about that. So, Dave, what's your background? Were you raised in the church? Are you a convert?
So, first and foremost, ngā mihi nui kia koe, Craig, for the opportunity to be interviewed in your podcast and to share a little bit about my journey as a gay male who's returned back to the covenant path. But I guess I'll start with no he koe, where I come from. So, ko pai tukumanga, ko whangai taku awa, ko haupo taku waka, ko kaungaroa taku marae. Ko ngā te apa me ngā pihi o ke iwi, ko ngā wariki me ngā tihini me ngā piri o ke hapu, ko waio ko Dave Craft, toki ingoa, Dave Hati, toki ingoa.
Because we had quite a few foreign listeners.
Yeah.
Do you want to just explain what you shared with us, which was beautiful?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So I've just introduced my PPH, which is where I come from, and so I've acknowledged my mountain, which is Whangai Ehu, which is down in Whanganui. Kongaroa.
We're neighbours.
We are.
No
We
taranaki.
are.
Hi. Kia ora.
Also, whakapapa to Taranaki as well. So I'm just on that journey. Whangai is my mountain. Karahopo is my waka. Kongaroa is my marae. And then in the hapu or the tribe is Ngāti Apa. And then Ngāpuhi is on my adopted family side. So I come from up north and from so acknowledging both areas where I come from.
Oh, ka pai.
Yeah. So here I am being interviewed for the first time. So we're just gonna roll with it.
So what's with your church background type thing?
Yeah. So I grew up in Hamilton, was raised as a member in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My home ward was Chartwell Ward. I was baptized at age 8 and then fell away from the church for a little bit when my parents were going through separation.
How old were you then?
I was probably about 9, 10. It's when I fell away from the church. It wasn't until I was 12.
Did you have any inklings that you were gay at that age? Like I knew by then. I didn't have language.
I knew from a young age that I was different. I knew that I liked boys more than females, more than girls, but didn't really understand it
until... You were always the princess and never the prince.
Pretty much. I didn't really understand it till I got into teenager, what it really meant. So it wasn't until I was about 12 is when I started coming back to church by myself.
Oh, wow.
And that was because I wanted to go to church college, and part of the requirements was 80% church attendance. So I would go to church by myself. I would walk from home to church or ask for a ride. And that's where I was fully involved and active. And so when I started going back to church, I received my Aaronic priesthood as a deacon, and then like a week later, I was called as to serve as the deacon's quorum president. So that was interesting. Yeah, went back to church, and then
So just to catch up our listeners, because
mm,
a lot of my listeners aren't LDS. So
yeah,
Church College is a college which doesn't actually exist anymore, but it was it started in the 50s?
1950s, yeah,
Yeah,
1955,
1950.
I believe.
Yeah. So Church College was a college in Hamilton, New Zealand, and that was it was an LDS college. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So it was open to non-LDS. So there were a mix of non-LDS and LDS that were going. But during my time, it was strictly LDS. So you had to get church leaders' approval from your bishop, and state
Right.
president had to sign the endorsement and everything like that.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah,
and then you were talking about receiving the Aaronic priesthood. So
yeah,
I think it is at 12-year-olds that
yeah, 12.
year old girls. So there's two levels of priesthood, and just correct me if I'm wrong because I'm a convert. So, but there's two levels of priesthood. So the Aaronic priesthood is the first one that 12-year-old boys receive. They pass the sacrament at
Yeah,
church meetings. There's a few other things that they do. So just
yeah,
explain for our people that aren't
yeah,
members of the Church of Jesus Christ.
yeah. So 12-year-olds, 12 to 14 is the part in the segment, so we call them deacons. 14 to 16 teachers, so they are the ones that will prepare the segment. And also, I guess the bishop's helper or the branch president's helper. And then 16 to 18 is priest who releases the segment.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know that. Yeah, you've taught me something. Cool.
yeah, grew up in the church, went to church college, thought church college was the best school in the world. People are probably going to give me hate for it. But the experience of going to a Lord's school was what I wanted. My family are all inactive, so when I was 16, I was able to baptize my two younger siblings.
Oh, wow.
Um, but one of them is wanting to have their name removed from the church records, which by all means, that's his choice. He's also gay. Been in the gospel, was dating a female when I was at church college. I call her my ex college sweetheart. We're still good friends to this day. Yeah. However, I came out in March the 11th, 2012, and I was living in Wellington.
That's very specific, Dave.
It is. It is.
What
It's still a
what
day
what
that I
led
remember.
what led up to that?
Look, I was living in Wellington with her. We were supposed to be sealed for all time in eternity in the Hamilton, New Zealand temple. We had just celebrated our 6-year anniversary of being together.
Oh, wow.
However, I could not do it. I could not get through the whole process of being married,
Hmm.
taking her to the temple, and knowing the sacredness of what the temple really meant to me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't bear to put her through any more pain, especially when I was cheating behind her back and wasn't being faithful. I just knew that I had to be honest with myself and I had to come out.
That's awesomely brave of you, Dave, because I think there's a lot of maybe not quite so much from your generation, because I think you're 35, aren't you? Yeah. But from my generation as a 60-year-old, when I was doing that sort of thing, when I was that age, when you were in a relationship, they were going through with the wedding, I guess, in hopes of sending them straight or something. I too had a girlfriend. We were 18 months, so it wasn't such a lengthy relationship, but definitely I was like, I can't do this. I can't hurt this human being. Yeah.
I think it was more for me, it was more around could no longer deny
Right.
who I was. And I had to set her free. I had to let her go.
Yeah.
so that she could be with the one that she wanted to love. At the end of the day, we're still good friends. We still laugh. We still check in from time to time. She's happily married to her wife. We met at Church College.
Okay. Did you say her wife?
Yeah, yeah. She's married to her wife.
Oh,
So,
that's beautiful.
and we had suspicions about one another and everything like that, but we weren't too sure how to approach it in a way. And of course, when you're growing up in the gospel, of course you want to in the church, you want to be able to do all that you should be doing and whatnot. So yeah, we laugh about it and whatnot, and
Yeah,
still good friends.
that's beautiful. Yeah. So what happened after
Yeah,
your
so we
coming out day? Yeah.
well, I guess my coming out was interesting. I rang my mother and no, our mothers know, right?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so I rang her and I was like, oh, hey mum. So I don't normally call my mother mum. It's either old lady, woman, or old mother dear. However, when I start to say mum, mum's like, something's up, what's up? Anyway, I was like, oh, just ring, checking in, see how you're doing and everything like that. And mum was just like, yeah, what's up? Something's up. You don't call me mum unless something is up. And I was like, oh, I really don't know how to tell you this. And mum was just like, just spill it. I'm your mother. Whatever you're gonna tell me, I'm gonna love you regardless.
Mm.
And so I was like, oh, well, I'm gay. I've got something to tell you, and I'm gay. And my mother cracked up laughing over the phone. She was living in Hamilton. I was in Wellington. Um, and I was taken back because I expected, I guess, the worst.
Mm.
I've seen a lot of gay movies where gay individuals or LGBT, lesbian, whatever, would come out and the worst would happen. So I was expecting the worst, and my mother just said, I know. I've known for a long time. I was just waiting for you to be honest and be true to yourself.
Mm.
So that was reassuring. Of course, she had to throw in things like, oh, you used to get in my skirts and high heels and my makeup when you were younger. I thought it was cute, but your father was about it. And then, of course, she had to bring in the embarrassment stories of, oh, remember that time that we caught you hooking up with so-and-so behind the shed and hooking up here and all this stuff. So that was really reassuring.
So
I
your
didn't
so
know, yeah,
your mum's not active in the church at this point.
my family are active at all. My father's not a member.
So from a
Uh,
religious point of view, it didn't really have an impact on her in terms
no,
of faith.
no, no.
Okay.
She
Yeah.
did question around how would it impact, knowing where the church stands on homosexuality, on not, how the church is so big on families, how it's important to, marriages between the man and the woman. So she did wonder about that, but she had left the church long ago. She
Yeah.
still had the testimony and whatnot, but as an active, yeah.
So and how did your coming out impact on church?
I lost a lot of close friends that I thought were friends.
Yeah.
There was a lot of judgment.
So
There was a lot of
you were still attending church?
I was attending church on my own. I was still trying to explore and navigate church and the rainbow world.
Mm.
So it was a struggle. I lost a lot of those people that I trusted, that I looked up to. As soon as they heard of my coming out,
So
there was a lot of judgment.
so what year are we talking about here, Dave?
2011.
So what was the teaching of the church at that time? Like I guess I'm interested because I would have thought in just 12 years ago, I would have thought that the church teaches the same as it does now.
To be honest, I don't know what it was like all I knew is that I come out, and so I would go to church with mascara on and eyeliner on, and
As you do.
well, no, yeah, um, you would get the ugliest look from church members, as to, what are you doing? Why are you wearing that? So that kind of really put me off from attending church even further. I would still attend.
So
Um,
was this a ward that you've been attending a long time? Was it a big ward? Oh, sorry, listeners, a ward is a local congregation. So had you been
yeah,
attending a ward a long time? You knew these people, or
it was my home ward. So I moved from Wellington back to Hamilton after the separation, and I was attending my home ward, and there were some members in there that were quite judgy,
was there
very
some that
judgmental.
were good with you as well, though?
No, I guess I kind of left the church and stopped going.
Yeah.
That's where my life started to change and exploring what the world had to offer. So I ended up, yeah, less frequent in attending church. I
You,
still,
sorry,
yeah,
I'm full of questions here, Dave.
no, you're good.
Do you think that if you had been treated in a more loving, accepting manner, that you would have stayed, or do you think that you would have probably left anyway?
I think I would have left, um, yeah, left the gospel
Okay.
then. I guess once I got hooked onto what the world had to offer, in my view, just like there's no point going to church. In 2012, I ended up meeting a man and ended up living with him. And I knew that that conflicted with the church principles and values and teachings of the gospel. But
So,
by then I was involved in the world.
just backing up a little bit, what was happening in terms of your relationship with God at that time?
I would still read my scriptures. I would still pray. In a way, I was still trying to do the religious side of things, the thing that I knew I was supposed to do, but got too sucked into what the world had to offer. The guy that I met, he was actually an ex-member of the church,
Yeah.
so we had that connection there. He
Return
come from
missionary?
no, he wasn't a return. He's a new convert from Harweda.
Oh, hawera. Okay.
Yeah, yes, come from Harweda. Look, a great guy. We were together for 2 years. Had a civil union. Yeah, so truly and well, I guess, left the
Okay.
church and all that
Oh,
stuff.
you had a civil union.
I
Oh, no.
did, I
Yeah.
did with him. Thought that he was the love of my life, as you do.
Yeah.
I was still attending church on and off. Yeah, it wasn't really until 2015, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, was where I really fully left the gospel. So, yeah, was part of the world, doing worldly things, smoking, drinking, doing marijuana, enjoying what life had. That wasn't what I was brought up on. But then, of course, seeing my own family doing it, so I just kind of followed, still held on to my testimony. I wasn't reading my scriptures or praying like I was in
Yeah.
church. And jump forward to November 2015. At the time, I think there was a big protest that was going on within the church in Salt Lake City. I think it was the time where women talking about priesthood or couldn't attend
Uh,
priesthood meetings and
women's ordination. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Ordained, the
Um,
ordained women movement. Yeah.
that's it. I think there was a huge influx of resignation of members resigning from the church during that time.
And
Um,
was that around the time of the September? Just this is kind of um, Church of Jesus Christ speak, but anyway,
mhm.
that around the time of the excommunication of those six.
It
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yes, it was. I think it was John Deline.
yeah.
Around that time, I think one thing that really put me off was I can't remember specifically, but I do remember I don't need the gospel in my life anymore. But why do I want to be a part of a denomination that, we talk about love one another, we talk about teaching our primary children that they are children of God and to love one another and whatnot. But then we have leaders on the other side kind of condescending and judgmental toward LGBT, to the rainbow community.
So I think also,
So I had my name
right.
removed.
So I think also at that time too, that was the same time where they brought out this new policy of if LGBT parents had children that were coming to church, the children couldn't be baptized or get callings or anything until they turned
They were
18,
18.
and
Yeah,
then they kind of like renounce their parents' relationship or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
It
think
was around that time.
yeah, so that was called the 2015 policy. Yeah, gosh, I'm glad I wasn't investigating the church then.
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
which
It was quite an
to
ugly time.
I, yeah, and for clarification to viewers too, I think 2 years after that policy, I remember I was investigating actually, and I found out about that policy, and I remember one of my dear friends explained it to me, and I was just like, hmm, okay. But I was very uncomfortable with it. And then I think 6 months later, they reversed the policy and it no longer exists. And so,
Yeah,
maybe about the time I converted was the time that the church has been making real progress. And I think,
absolutely.
I think this not only applies to our church listeners, I think it applies to the Pentecostal church, the evangelical church. There's a lot of churches that in the last 10 years have started changing policies and kind of viewing homosexuality as differently than what they did in the past, which is a huge relief for all of us. So, sorry,
Yeah.
carry on.
No, it's all good. Yeah, it was a challenging time for a lot of us back in 2015, and
Mm.
just the influx of recent nations after recent nations, and I just felt at that time the time for me to physically leave the church. Yes, I had a bishop and stake president, and I was living in Auckland at the time. Wanted to, meet with me. I was dead serious in my letter that I do not wish to have any further involvement with the church. Please don't contact me. I expect that my resignation be done. Otherwise, I will seek legal action. So I kind of followed the template that was circling around throughout the world that was done by a lot of members in Utah, really.
And what about your relationship with God? Did you kind of eject
I
him?
still spoke to him. I still spoke to my Heavenly Father, still prayed. Would from time to time stick the scriptures.
Yeah.
I would from time to time read the Ensign online, or no, I think it's called the Leahona. I would attend church every now and then. So I still, although I wasn't a member of the church, I still held on to my testimony.
So you were
And
still a
yeah,
believer.
I was still a firm
You were
believer
still
in the
you
gospel.
still had faith in Jesus Christ.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, I just couldn't deny the testimony that I had
Yeah.
of the truthfulness of the gospel. I guess fast forward, ended up divorced from my first ex-husband, ended up meeting another guy who lived in Chicago. So did a whole long distance relationship before we moved here. We're no longer together. We've been separated, for a while now. But yeah, fast forward 8 years in 2022, came across BYU Pathway on Facebook. Now, I've heard about BYU Pathway, and I was just curious to know a little bit about what was involved in BYU Pathway.
So what is BYU Pathways?
BYU Pathway is a program that's been designed by the church for anyone who is wanting to further their education. So kind of like a bridging course for those that don't have any formal education. It also has the religious component and it's supporting students by learning from the gospel and implementing self-reliance and everything like that. So I enrolled I had no desires to finish it. I had no desire to participate in institute. So institute is what we call Institute of Religion, so it's religious study, and it's part of the component.
And it's
Um,
like adults, is it? Or like,
Adults,
is it
yeah.
20
So
year old?
young adults. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a whole mixture of us
Yeah.
from different age doing it. It was all online, and I remember saying to myself, I'm gonna give up. There's no point, the too much religious components and it and whatnot. Little did I know that that was my way returning back to the covenant path.
Right.
No intentions in going to church. I had no intentions in stepping back into a chapel or anything like that.
It's very
Um,
similar to me. I was just being snoopy and nosy when I looked at the church online for 18 months. I was just being
yeah.
snoopy and nosy. I never would have dreamed that I would join the church. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like I said, I had no intentions in returning
yeah,
back to the covenant path or
yeah.
back to the gospel. So I was doing my way pathway, and every week I would say to myself, "No, I'm quitting. That's it. I'm done." But no, I kept going. I kept going, and built some really good eternal friends. And I guess the turning point for me would have been in September 2022, going down to the Hamilton, New Zealand temple, participating in the open house, the tour that was happening. Mum wanted to go because she'd never been into the temple at all. Okay, all right, I'll come down, I'll pick you up. We'll go together. And I wanted to go through as well because the only part that I've ever been inside the temple is the baptismal area for
Right. So
baptism
that's
for the
kind of
dead.
like new converts or kids. I think, like, is
Yeah,
it 14
yeah,
and
yeah,
up? Like,
yeah,
so pre-18-year-olds or new converts.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah,
I've only done temple baptism, is what
yeah.
we call that as youth, and so I've never seen the other part of all, yeah, everything inside the temple itself. As you go through to where the baptismal front area is, reception area, as I stepped inside, I kind of felt like there was a weight taken off my shoulder. I felt like I was home, back to from a place that felt comfortable, a place that I knew. It felt like I had a cutaway put on me or a cloak wrapped around me at to like my Heavenly Father and Savior, Jesus Christ, saying, "Welcome home."
Yeah.
So I did the tour, and the real turning point for me was standing inside the celestial room. For that brief moment, I had tears running down my face. And it was that point in time that I really understood what the power of the atonement of Jesus Christ really meant to me. It was a time where I didn't want to leave that special room, this celestial room. It felt like I was home. And yeah,
Oh my
it
gosh,
was it was a
like,
special
you're
time.
just glowing, sweetie. You're just glowing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I made that decision inside my heart that I would quit drinking, I would quit smoking, and I did. It was that weekend that I decided to really start the repentance process.
And you were in a relationship? No.
No, so was separated by
Oh,
then.
yeah.
I guess that was the saving grace for me to start the full repentance process and divorce and everything like that. And reached out to the missionaries. It was quite interesting when I made contact with them. They were trying to track me and they were trying to find me because my
Oh, wow.
detail was in the tracking book,
Yeah.
but my number had changed. So made an appointment with the bishop at the time of the ward that I was in
And
and started the
was that
process.
your original home ward, or was this a new ward?
Oh, this was a whole new ward living here in Auckland. And started the process. I started attending church. I started really praying prayerfully and asking for strength and guidance. It wasn't until 2023, June of 2023 is when I was rebaptized.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
reconfirmed as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Wow. So, in terms of your homosexuality, did you kind of realize the implications of what returning to church meant? Like, what was that process like for you?
It's still a struggle, don't get me wrong. It's still a struggle. I still miss that, I get that connection with someone. I do miss that having a relationship with someone, particularly same sex. However, I don't miss it in somewhat, if that makes sense. I think I dedicated my life to the gospel and serving in the gospel of Jesus Christ.
So, and I think in some senses, I've just in previous discussions that I've had with you, I think you were more kind of um, a relation, like it wasn't really about the sex; it was about
It was
relationship.
more about the relationship and
Yeah,
connections. I mean, don't get me wrong, the sex would be fun and all that
yeah,
stuff, but it was never
right,
it was never a priority for me.
yeah,
It was more about relationship.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So then, how do you feel? You're 35. This is my question that I'm always dying to ask young gay Latter-day Saints, or any Christian that are choosing to live the law of chastity. What are the implications for you of thinking that you may be alone for the rest of your life, or do you don't think about it that way, or how does that work?
There are times that I think about it, but I am mindful and brought back to the plan of salvation and reminded of the plan of salvation and reminded about my covenant that I've made with my Savior, Jesus Christ. I guess because I've thrown myself into serving Jesus Christ as a full-time service missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, my time now is filled with preparing my lesson plans, what else, attending church, um, surrounding myself around members so that I'm not, yes, I'm going to be tempted and there is the temptations and everything. But for me, I've really thrown myself into the gospel that kind of helped me in a way of being less tempted. The other thing is attending the temple as regularly as I can.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Yes, I thought it was really funny when we met up, just met online. I remember I was going, I'm sure I've seen that. Anyway, me and Dave worked out that I think last October I was doing sessions in the temple, and there was a new person attending the temple for the first time, and we kind of worked out. I'm sure I was in your endowment session.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what
I
a
thought
great
that was
weekend that
hilarious.
was.
Yeah. So, Dave, I guess just a couple of follow-up questions. So, for us as gay members of the church, earlier on you were talking about the response of people in the congregation that you were attending when you first came out.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I guess a kind of multi-pronged question really, do you think the church has changed? Like, do you think that if you went to that ward now as a gay member, that the response would be different? And how do you find general response in the church? And then also, I'll just ask all my questions at once. I'm not a very good interviewer. How can how can members of people's wards do better? Or how are they doing well? I mean, I know in my ward personally, I have a great time, and I just love my ward.
Yeah.
But I've only ever known one ward.
Yeah. I have gone back to my family ward since returning back to the Covenant path. Um, it's quite interesting actually, those that did judge me, seeing me in the temple for the first time, and the joy joy that they felt seeing me return back to the covenant path. And the stories, my stories, being able to share with them around, I hope that you would love anyone, regardless of their gender, their sexuality, just love them as the way that Jesus Christ loves each and every one of us. And have gone back to my family board. Some of them have heard that I'm now a full-time service missionary, which they were quite surprised about. Yeah. Some were really surprised. Some were joyful about it. Others were like, wow, I never thought that you would come back.
So, another couple of nosy questions.
Yeah.
Do you think that you'll be straight in the next life?
I hope not, because we still gotta have our flamboyant people up there,
That's
dancing us
exactly
and
what I'm
keeping the
saying.
party alive.
Yeah.
I hope not. We're still gonna have our angel wings and our fairies and everything like that.
Oh my gosh, I want that too. Yeah. Probably going a bit apostate at this point, but anyway. um, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. This has just been so wonderful hearing your story, Dave. One last question. One, how do you think LGBT members of the church can do better at educating members and stuff like that? And B, how do you think that either church members or church leadership could do better to help us? Sometimes I listen to people, on YouTube videos and stuff, and they're going, oh, God's standard is between marriages between a man and a woman, and that's fine, and I agree with that completely, but they don't balance it with, however, if you do happen to be LGBT, we still love you and we still embrace you. And my question always is, by having that other approach, how is that attracting LGBT people to come and join the gospel of Jesus Christ? Because I don't want to just be, one of a few minority of people from our culture, if you want to call it that join the church. I want to spread the gospel to the LGBT community.
Yeah.
And sometimes podcasters can be a bit self-defeatist because they just give that viewpoint of marriages between a man and a woman, which is completely true, but also there's also another part. There's a path for people that don't fit that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for those of us in the rainbow community who are looking at returning back to the covenant path, or who's interested in learning more, I say come and learn. I say the church is a hospital. It's a place for us to learn and heal. Yeah, come and learn. That's all I can say. The gospel is true, and there's many beautiful parts in the gospel. For those who aren't rainbow community and those who may witness rainbow individuals in your ward or your branch, in your state, my message to you is love them.
Amen.
Love them and embrace them. We need them in our wards, in our branch, in our state, because they are going to help us learn further and to be able to come unto Jesus Christ and learn of his teaching. Embrace them. They have knowledge, they have wisdom. For myself, someone who's grown up in the gospel and has walked, gone through the worldly side of things, you need us. And so all I say is embrace us, welcome us into your wards, your branches, your state, and ensure that we are included in lessons and activities because we have a lot to offer. We have a lot to share. That's all I can say is just to love one another.
Amen, brother. And I would just add to that even if people don't, even if LGBT people, your friends and stuff that don't embrace the gospel, that's no reason to not love.
Yeah.
That's end of story. Got any scriptures you want to share with us, Dave?
Sure. One that's helped, I guess, saved me in the way, It's helped me along the road of the covenant path. Proverbs 3, 5 to 6, and it goes, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understandings. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path.
It's just beautiful. That's the second time this weekend I've had that scripture. God must be trying to tell me something. Cool. Well, Dave, thank you so much. This has just been amazing for me. So I hope it's amazing for everyone else, because it's been amazing for me. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for sharing your heart. So thank you so much, Dave, for coming. You've just been a joy, and just this glow that you have, like, it's just beautiful. So, and it's lovely to talk to someone who's younger, because I think a lot of time, even me, I question myself. I go, well, you're 60, what do you have to give up? But, moving forward, it's just like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So thank you very, very much, Dave.
Thank you. It's been an honor and privilege.
Oh, okay. So